Yesterday, the White House and the National Space Council came out with a new document. A new era for deep space exploration and development. I have been a supporter of the New Space movement since before it began, and I've been watching it as closely as I can. I thought I'd go over this. Beginning with missions beyond low Earth orbit, the United States will lead the return of humans to the moon for long-term exploration and utilization, followed by human missions to Mars and other destinations. That is a quote by President Donald J. Trump. Table of contents. I am going to read it and I'm going to give my opinion of it. I don't know how long this video is. I don't care. This is important. Introduction. At the 6th meeting of the National Space Council on August 20, 2019, the Council adopted a set of recommendations, including a recommendation that directed the National Space Council staff, in consultation with National Space Council members and the Users Advisory Group, to present to the chairman of the National Space Council a Moon-Mars development strategy. This strategy was to include low Earth orbit commercialization, robotic and human exploration, national security capabilities, and international cooperation for science, safety, security, and economic growth. The strategy, delineated in this paper, supports an ambitious vision for human space exploration and development. This vision is one in which there is a sustainable human and robotic presence across the solar system, an expanding sphere of commercial, non-governmental activities in which increasing numbers of Americans live and work in space. This vision begins with a campaign to utilize Earth's orbital environment, the surface and resources of the Moon, and cislunar space to develop the critical technologies, operational capabilities, and commercial space economy necessary for a sustainable human presence on the Moon, Mars, and beyond. Some commentary here. This document is coming out of the White House, so of course they're focused on Americans, but I believe the same kind of vision could be applied to all humans, all people of Earth, our Mother Earth Terra. Continuing on. U.S. space exploration efforts impact and aid multiple national interests, including the economy, national security, scientific advances, and diplomacy. The landscape has changed drastically since the early beginnings of the space age. Current space exploration efforts involve a greater number of nations and private sector actors, and as a result, the nature of leadership in space has evolved. The challenge in this new era is not simply to achieve what others cannot, but to provide opportunities for others to partner with us. Although NASA is and will remain the primary United States government entity for civil space exploration efforts, other departments and agencies have increasingly important roles to play in space. Here's some commentary. What I see in that paragraph is an effort to reach out in cooperation, not just competition, but cooperation. That is unexpected and very welcome. Continuing on. The American way of life is reliant on space activities, and we truly are a spacefaring nation. However, space is not subject to claims of sovereignty or other traditional means of protecting national interests in a shared domain. As a result, the United States will lead our allies and other like-minded nations while dissuading adversaries in order to preserve and advance U.S. national interests in space. In doing so, United States government space efforts will include commercial and international partners in the development and exploration of space. Space development, including industrial-scale commercial activities, cannot be accomplished by the government alone. An internationally competitive U.S. commercial space sector is a foundational requirement for U.S. space leadership. Although government resources are necessary to establish space exploration beyond low Earth orbit, its long-term sustainability is unlikely without the efficiencies and innovation of the private sector. As a result, the government will continue efforts to reform, streamline, and eliminate unnecessary regulatory burdens that may hinder U.S. space commerce in order to ensure that American companies can effectively compete in the global marketplace. So, some commentary. Eliminate unnecessary regulatory burdens. Okay. I can understand eliminating red tape. I hope that does not include environmental requirements. This administration has been very lackadaisical when it comes to the challenge of climate change, and space, if done wrong, can contribute significantly to the degradation of our environment. I don't want that to happen. But we do want our private sector to be able to step up and run. Continuing on. To execute this vision requires a secure international environment that is conducive to U.S. commercial growth. The United States Space Force does not have a direct role in the civil exploration and development of space, per se. Its responsibilities focus on organizing, training, and equipping the forces needed to support combatant commands and ensure unfettered access to and the use of space by the United States and its allies and partners. However, activities such as space transportation and logistics, power, communication, navigation, and space domain awareness are of dual-use value to all space sectors: civil, national security, and commercial. The development of civil and commercial best practices can lead to norms of responsible behavior that improve international stability and transparency for all space activities. The important supporting roles of the Departments of State, Defense, Commerce, Transportation, Energy, and Homeland Security in space exploration and development are among the major reasons the United States takes a whole-of-government approach to its space activities. So, commentary. The U.S. Space Force, I've supported it once I understood that it was an effort to consolidate the existing commands. It's not something new. It is bringing all of the activities of the Department of Defense across all of the different branches into a single command. That doesn't create red tape, it actually eliminates it. And I understood that from the beginning and supported it. We don't need Marines in space. We don't, all of that stuff is all conspiracy theory stuff. And I don't support it. But I do understand it, and I do have my own opinions on this administration that are not going to go into this video, but that's interesting. Continuing on. Background. Before formulating a Moon-Mars development strategy, it is necessary to review briefly the National Space Strategy from 2018 and Space Policy Directive Number 1, Reinvigorating America's Human Space Exploration Program from 2017. The National Space Strategy, approved by the President in March of 2018, prioritizes American interests first and foremost by emphasizing peace through strength in the space domain. In doing so, it requires a dynamic and cooperative interplay between the national security, commercial, and civil space sectors. The purpose of this integrated effort is to ensure that the United States has unfettered access to and the freedom to operate in space in order to advance American security, prosperity, and scientific knowledge. The National Space Strategy consists of 4 pillars in a united, whole-of-government approach. First, transform to more resilient space architectures. The United States will accelerate the transformation of its space architecture to enhance resiliency, defenses, and the ability to reconstitute impaired capabilities. 2. Strengthen deterrence and war-fighting options. The United States will strengthen U.S. and allied options to deter potential adversaries from extending conflict into space, and, if deterrence fails, to counter threats used by adversaries for hostile purposes. So, some commentary. I wish this were not necessary. I wish we could see the whole world as a cooperative effort to expand into space as a whole of humanity. In an ideal world, this would not be necessary. I hope that we strive to build that ideal world. But right now, we don't live in it. Continuing on. Number 3, improve foundational capabilities, structures, and processes. The United States will ensure effective space operations through improved situational awareness, intelligence, and acquisition processes. Number 4, foster conducive domestic and international environments. The United States will streamline regulatory frameworks, policies, and processes to leverage and support U.S. commercial industry more effectively, and will pursue bilateral and multilateral engagements to enable innovative private sector growth, human and robotic exploration, promote burden sharing, and marshal cooperative threat responses. The focus of this national space strategy on national security provides a foundational perspective and rationale for all U.S. space activities, including civil space exploration and commercial development. There are at least 2 reasons for this connection between national security and civil elements. First, the technical capabilities and key technologies that enable both civil and military space activities come from the same industrial base and skilled workforce. Second, the creation of conducive domestic and international environments is necessary for civil space activities, and those activities can, with partners and like-minded countries, help create a more stable and predictive environment that enhances national security and economic prosperity. The Trump administration has recognized that in order to be stable and sustainable over the long term, Americans' space efforts must be strongly linked to and supportive of enduring national interests. From economic prosperity and national security to science and diplomacy, space activities provide practical as well as symbolic benefits to the nation. Space exploration, human space exploration in particular, has often been strongly shaped by U.S. geopolitical interests. In turn, space cooperation has reflected and followed those interests. Space Policy Directive 1, Invigorating America's Human Space Exploration Program, signed by President Donald J. Trump on December 11, 2017, states that the United States will lead an innovative and sustainable program of exploration with commercial and international partners to enable human expansion across the solar system and to bring back to Earth new knowledge and opportunities. Beginning with missions beyond low Earth orbit, the United States will lead the return of humans to the Moon for long-term exploration and utilization, followed by human missions to Mars and other destinations. The Vice President and the National Space Council expanded on this directive at the 5th meeting of the National Space Council on March 26, 2019 in Huntsville, Alabama. At this meeting, the Council adopted a recommendation that states, consistent with the overall goals of SPD-1, the United States will seek to land Americans on the Moon's South Pole by 2024, establish a sustainable human presence on the Moon by 2028, and chart a future path for human Mars exploration. NASA's lunar presence will focus on science, resource utilization, and risk reduction for future missions to Mars. Although many of the technical goals for the Moon and Mars are not new, the requirements for such missions to be sustainable, to involve commercial and international partners, and to include resource utilization are new to U.S. national space policy. The 2024 landing date has provided a strong and immediate focus to NASA's human spaceflight efforts. In addition, the April 6, 2020 executive order on encouraging international support for the recovery and use of space resources made it the policy of the United States to encourage international support for the public and private recovery and use of resources in outer space. Over a longer time horizon, the demands of sustainability will have just as critical an influence on the nation's space enterprise. Broadly defined, the long-term sustainability of space activities is the ability to indefinitely and responsibly explore and use space. The term sustainable can have different meanings depending on the context. For example, financial sustainability is the ability to execute a program of work within budget levels that are realistic, managed effectively, and likely to be available. Technical sustainability requires that operations are conducted repeatedly at acceptable levels of risk. Proper management of the inherent risks of deep space exploration and settlement is the key to making those risks acceptable. Finally, policy sustainability means that the program's financial and technical factors are supportive of long-term national interests, broadly and consistently over time. Robotic space exploration, for example, has benefited from a constancy of purpose driven by priorities identified by the national academies through their decadal surveys. Similarly, the U.S. Armed Forces have supported scientific exploration and helped ensure the free flow of trade and commerce, while performing their fundamental mission of protecting the nation. Although the nation has healthy debates over the cost, size, capabilities, and duties of our armed forces, it does not question whether the United States should maintain such forces. Long-term deep space exploration and development should seek to have a similar level of policy sustainability. It can do so by ensuring such efforts promote and strengthen the technical, economic, and foreign policy objectives of the United States and its allies. So some commentary. That last paragraph is missing environmental sustainability, which is important to me and hopefully a lot of other people. But I also see that as a call out to future administrations. Whatever happens in November, whatever happens in the election of 2024, we need U.S. space policy to be consistent. We need the efforts to go to the moon, to go to Mars, and beyond, to be constant and not subject to the whims of a changing Speaker of the House or Senate Majority Leader or President. We need the efforts of the United States to be sustained going into the future. It has been amazing to see this administration in particular be the one to create an outline like this document. As frustrated as I am with a lot of the things that this administration is doing, this might be the one thing that they are doing right. I will continue in the next video.